Well, look at that. It is 10 o'clock on the west coast of the United States. It's 0500 GMT. That means it's time for cBAS After Dark for Nerd News Monday on this, the 11th of May, 2015. Thank you for being here. It's another one of those Nerd News Mondays where I didn't really feel like being here. And yet the time came to do the show, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. So let's talk about what's coming up. We have nerd news about gadgets. The battery company that doesn't get wireless charging to save its life. Here's a hint, it's Duracell. The bridge of the Enterprise at the NSA. The attack for Tor email users, Google Glass, Apple's Watch. Microsoft thinks your phone will be your only computer, whether it's your iPhone, whether it's your Android phone. I guess if it's Microsoft, it will be one of those Nokias that runs the Windows phone version of Windows, whatever it is. Which I'll be honest, I do not have one of those. So it's something that it's a little off my radar screen as far as, I mean, I have my machine that I do the broadcast here on, and that is a Windows machine. And I have my MacBook that I use, and I have my iPhone, and I have my Android. So I've got like 4 of the major operating systems covered. And yet that Microsoft phone thing is something that kind of escapes me. And you know what? I feel like one of the things I want to do first, before I do anything else, I would like to look at a screenshot. If we can call one up here really fast. Let's just call images.google.com here up, and we will say mobile operating system. And let's just see what the current... okay, that's just a graphic about it. That is not actually statistics. Can I do like mobile operating system market share maybe? Here we go. For 2012 is not very current information. Can we do like okay, here's 2014. Global smartphone market by OS. Look at that. Android 84%, Apple only 11%, Windows Phone 2%, BlackBerry OS 0.6, and others 0.2. That doesn't ring true to me, because then you go to CNET, and this graphic shows up. Android's 34%, iOS 55%. So I'm trying to figure out. Let's look at this article from CNET and see if that graphic is labeled and what it can tell us about whether or not that is an accurate representation of the current market share. Here we go. Okay. For November 2013, all right, iOS more than half, Android 34%. I thought that first graphic might have been a little bit incorrect. Doesn't say what it's based on. And it didn't, did it say, actually, looking at that page again, did it say, it said the time, did it say whether it was worldwide or nationwide? Net market share collects browser data from a worldwide network of over 40,000 websites. So operating system usage there. All right, well, I tell you what, instead of doing an image search, probably more useful is doing like a news search and doing operating system market share. Let's make it a mobile operating system, since that's kind of what I'm interested in. Okay, Q1 2015, iOS slips to 72%. Android hits 26%. Windows Phone stays flat at 1%. That answers my question, although VentureBeat.com is not a site I have heard a lot of. More Android users switch to iPhone 6. According to that, Android resumes market shares, according to the Huffington Post. Let's see here. Okay. So here's an operating system share of mobile phone activations. And if you look at mobile phone activations by quarter here, looks like blue is Android, red is iOS. So while iOS, and it seemed like they were mostly split evenly. In fact, iOS was winning in September 2014. December 2014, it looked like it was almost exactly tied. And then by March, sorry, no, Apple had been winning in December 2013. By September 2014, Apple had shrunk. Apple's red, iOS is red, and Android is blue here. By last December, it was more or less evenly matched. And then back to March of this year, iOS has shrunk again. Interesting. Basing its U.S., I think it's sort of 500 U.S. subjects. So again, that is American numbers, not necessarily worldwide. But I like to watch. I like to look at how those things work, how they change, and so on. I think that's pretty fascinating. Although I'm also dazzled by this headline over on the right from the Huffington Post. Just so you know I'm not lying, I'm going to let you see it really fast because it seems like almost I would be making it up if it weren't for the fact that it says right here on the right-hand side of the screen, Florence Henderson describes how a former New York City mayor gave her crabs. Apparently, Florence Henderson was on the HuffPost show Friday, and she unexpectedly contracted pubic lice after a little fling with New York City Mayor John Lindsay, a story she tells in her memoir, Life is Not a Stage. And there she is on the HuffPost show. You've got crabs. Lindsay was apologetic. He and Henderson never tried for a second date. He sent flowers the next day and apologized, and of course she never saw him again. So does that mean she contracted pubic lice? I guess that must mean they had a bit of a fling. In other words, they had sex. I don't know why that kind of freaks me out or fascinates me, but like even a single one night out. I guess it was a night in, wasn't it? Anyway. So let's look at this Time Magazine article, starting things off with where I was talking about. Microsoft says your phone will be your only computer. Not fully sure if I may have talked about this in Nerd News in recent weeks or not, but let's go ahead and switch over to it because it's a pretty good article, especially if you like, as I do, how the Microsoft operating system, as far as mobile phones go, is about 1% and holding steady at that. Microsoft says they're working on a way to make phones run like desktops. Is this like a news story we can watch here? I don't want to hear your commercial, but can a smartphone satisfy all your computing needs? That was the pitch Microsoft made during its Build Developers Conference Tuesday. I think this is a couple weeks old. When is this from? April 30th. On stage at the event, Joe Bellafor, the Microsoft corporate vice president, plugged a Windows Phone into a large screen display. On the small screen, he opened a mobile version of a PowerPoint presentation, but on the large screen, that same presentation was transformed. Menu options that would normally appear in the desktop version of PowerPoint suddenly appeared at the top of the screen. The Universal app detected the display's expansive canvas and packed it with new features. In essence, the app ran two independent displays from one device. Microsoft calls this screen splitting feature a continuum, and it hints at a future where a smartphone can, in essence, become a wide range of devices, from the tablet to the laptop to the mighty desktop computer, depending on what it's connected to. And if a phone can truly match those devices feature for feature, who needs all that costly hardware? I know many of the Trekkies in the Trekkie chat room. I talk about them a lot here. Hello, Trekkies in the Trekkie chat room. I sense none of them are watching tonight, but many of them are big on desktop machines only. They say, I will never buy a laptop because they're not upgradable enough. You don't get enough sort of bang for your buck, essentially. Laptops are more expensive than desktop computers when it comes to sort of, bang for your buck is actually essentially really the best term that applies because, the amount of things you can do, the amount of technology power, computing power you get on a desktop computer is far more for the dollar compared to a laptop computer. I don't know if that will sort of change because it seems like tablets and smartphones are changing the game a lot when it comes to display intensity. I mean, most people with their new phones now really feel like, the displays are getting really good. You have the Retina display in just about everything Apple makes, from the iPhone to the MacBook to the iPad, right? Everything in between of those devices all has the Retina display, which is essentially a display so good that, you know, your eyes will never be able to see the difference between it and any superior display, I don't think. Again, how much better are they going to keep making displays? How many more millions of colors are they going to be able to tell us we're getting when, in fact, you know, the human eye can only detect so much? You know, it's like, hey, we're now able to present millions of sounds in the sound range that, you know, only your dog can hear. It's really great. And maybe that is the future. I don't know, but it feels like we're going to hit a wall as to the boundaries of human sense detection, human perception, are going to kind of be the limit, I think, for this stuff. I'm already sort of skeptical about being able to tell the difference between my iPhone's display and my LG's phone's display here. In fact, I believe the G Flex, which is what I have here, can you see? It's flexed, it's curved. It seems like such a big deal. Everybody comments on it first thing. That's what I did when I first saw it. And then I quickly realized that, well, it's got pretty good battery life. It's got a lot of good things going for it. But screen display resolution, I think it's like 720 instead of 1080 or something like that. So it's not all that great. But again, I watched tons of things on it. The video this thing takes look amazing on the screen. When I look at videos I transferred to it, they look as good as I'm able to see on the iPhone as far as I'm able to detect. Again, you know, with me and my... I have myopia, okay? That's what these are for. I have nearsightedness. I cannot see things much further away from here. If you want to do it sideways, you can see exactly how far away something has to be. If it is right about, let's say, 8 inches away from my face, I can see it clearly without glasses. If it's any further than that, I cannot. But the upside of that is I'm able to look at a phone with my glasses off. I don't have to have contacts on, and I'm able to sort of see almost as though it were a gigantic widescreen, flat screen display, you know, the biggest of big TVs. And so, in a way, I feel like that's kind of as good as having a big screen TV for me and my eye condition. Now, most people would not agree with that. I know many people who absolutely refuse to watch video on their phones. Many people. I know several people who are like, I don't ever want to watch anything on my phone. I only, you know, the concept of phone viewing to them is just verboten. And I will say this: you show me someone who doesn't like to watch things on their phone, I will show you someone who does not take transit, because that's one of the things where you whether you're flying, whether you're on the train, whether you're on the bus, one of the ways in which the phone becomes a truly necessary multimedia device is when you are writing or sitting with people you don't want to be sitting near or, you know, writing near. You want to be able to entertain yourself by tuning everybody else out on the train, on the bus. Yes, yes, yes. On the airplane. Absolutely. Speaking of which, planes, trains, automobiles, the transit version of Nerd News I did last week got enormously good viewing response. Like, you know, many of my, I should check my Google Analytics and actually pull that up, because it was really head and tails above like most of the other shows I've ever really done as far as Nerd News go. Let's see here. Let me pull up the old YouTubius here. And you can see what I see. Oh, look, there's another game show, another version of Hue able to be played. Maybe we'll watch that for Game Show Tuesday. Wow, the pot legalization show did well. Other shows I've done, looks like we get some views. 10 views for the last fast food, junk food extravaganza. That's not a lot. 53 for the last 420 show. Only 4 for this 420 show, and my video was blocked in some countries. Why? Oh, because one of the PSAs about marijuana had a sound recording administered by Koch Entertainment. I wonder if that's the Koch brothers. Well, Lord only knows. But what I was going to point out was the transit edition of Nerd News. 98 views. That's the most of any of these shows that you will see me be able to scroll to here. Many of them are 15, a few of them are 21, some of them are only 4, like I don't have wide viewership here. But with that spectrum, seeing one that hits 98, not only 98, but the amount of time viewed, which is also an important metric, was also way higher. Like people watched almost every minute of last week's Nerd News Monday. Only 21 watched the previous Nerd News Monday. And last week's Nerd News Monday was very widely watched. So thank you for watching. If I click that, it will not do what I want it to do. It will start to play it. And we don't need to watch a rerun of Nerd News Monday. But I did want to sort of view the views and the stats. And here we go, loading analytics. Let's see what I can see here. So yeah, I guess all I really need to look at is the past 7 days. All right, yeah. The number of estimated minutes watched, 12 hours and 27 minutes worth of that hour. I only was there for an hour. It's an hour long, and yet, 98 people watched 12 and a half hours worth of it. So that's a lot, again, relatively speaking. And I'm grateful. I guess that means I'm doing something good. Anyway, going back to the Microsoft continuum and the phones, that's the last paragraph of this is something I kind of started off by saying. It was a neat trick being able to plug your phone into a big display and having sort of a second version of the app load on that display because your phone can detect it. But 97% of mobile phone users have committed to Apple or Android devices. Not even current Windows Phone users will be able to take advantage of this new feature. The screen sensing technology relies on a new smartphone processor Microsoft is still developing in conjunction with the folks at Qualcomm. It could be a game-changing technology for mobile phones, assuming Microsoft can push its way back into the major leagues. I don't care about the Dancing with the Stars thing. Let's see. Will this video...
After all...
Oh, that's the ad still. Well, again, I think that's interesting that Microsoft is able to kind of do that. I wonder if enough people will care. Again, it'll depend on that feature and that chip in the new Qualcomm phones becoming so widely used that it has to usurp both the Android operating system and all of the different types of phones running it and the iPhone, which runs the iOS. Let's switch back to this because now I've got that ad played and now we can watch this story, hopefully.
Coming to phones in Windows 10. And what that means is you'll be able to carry a new phone device in your pocket and then at any time connect it to a mouse, keyboard, and larger screen and unleash a PC experience almost just like the one you get from a full PC device.
Almost.
So let's say you're on the road and all you have with you is your phone. And your company has touchdown spaces where people can drop in and use a full keyboard, mouse, and screen. You simply connect your phone, and then your Outlook mail experience, which you use on the phone screen all the time, now scales up to be a full PC-like experience. You can use the mouse and keyboard. You'll see all your folders on the left. You see all your messages in the middle. You can preview them on the right, and when you reply, you're using the full power of Word, also built into your phone. All your keyboard shortcuts will work the way you expect. You can get work done very effectively using your phone like a PC. You could also imagine you're on vacation and you're going to connect your phone to the TV screen in your hotel room. Now you have a way to show those vacation photos that you've been taking, or you can use the dual screen capability to let your kids watch a video while you're catching up on your email or text messages and they're not interrupted. You might wonder about some of the details here. Well, because Windows 10 shares common technology between the PC, the Xbox, and the phone, we have common code that knows how to connect devices wirelessly, like keyboards and mice. So that's already there. And with new parts from Qualcomm, we have processors that can drive two screens separately in these new phone devices. And so that's how we enable the phone screen to work independently from the PC screen. And the whole story comes together because of the universal Windows platform, where software developers, including Microsoft for apps like Excel and Outlook, are writing apps to Windows that can scale from a phone device up to a PC.
And again, it looks like what they're talking about here is wireless. Now, that display that we heard described here when the president plugged a phone into a large screen display, that clearly sounds like that was not wireless. the sort of little dream interpretation on this video that we're seeing has the phone wirelessly just sitting there, but also apparently connected to and driving the monitor and accepting input from the keyboard and so on.
Run one of those apps on your phone device with a big screen. It looks and works just like it would on the PC. Other companies have built products kind of like this, but it's not the same. In those cases, you have a phone running phone apps that's docking to a keyboard and mouse, but those phone apps were never designed to work with a mouse, keyboard, and large screen. With the universal Windows platform and Windows 10, software developers are writing their apps for the PC and for the phone. And when those apps, including apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, when those apps are run with a mouse and keyboard, they work exactly the way the user would expect. This Continuum for Phones feature requires new special hardware capabilities, which will be built into phone devices that'll ship with Windows 10 after it's available this summer. We believe this enables the vision of the phone in your pocket with your data and your apps being able to light up any mouse, keyboard, and screen wherever you go, giving you the full power of a PC experience.
Okay, we've talked a lot about Windows 10 on this program, on Nerd News, in fact, because there was an article describing how the rollout was going to be. Somebody discovered sort of the game plan and the timeline and so forth that the company, Microsoft, was apparently going to use. It seemed like they discovered it in kind of a relatively covert way. In other words, it sounded like they kind of dug into Windows a little bit and found certain programs that once they were able to get into them, I forget exactly how this happened. You'd have to go back 2 weeks or so to look at the article I read on the program here, but it talked about the opting in if you're going to opt out of the upgrade, which I believe is going to be provided free to all users of Windows 7 and Windows 8, if I remember right. If you have Windows 7 or Windows 8 and it's certain service packs of Windows 7 and certain, like if you have Windows 8.1 but not 8.0, you're going to get Windows 10 kind of a thing for free. And again, it's a big upgrade file. It's like a multiple gigabyte, 2 or 3 gigabytes worth of upgrade file that you have to download. And again, my concern at that moment was, gosh, I have friends who talk about their usage caps, their data usage caps, and they're only allowed so much, only allowed so much in the way of data per month. And if you have to download a big old Windows honkin' upgrade file, that's not going to be something that's necessarily pleasant or make anybody really happy. Here's an article I found. Now, Google Glass, the number one technology that makes you sound drunk when you try to talk about it, at least me, is sort of already falling by the wayside. I think we're already seeing that they've kind of discontinued the development of it. They're kind of no longer going to try and push for it. But there was an article that came out on, which was it? BGR.com, which is like it's like a tech blog. And I'm sort of hoping to find out, because I've seen BGR before. I've read things from them before. It's just BGR Media, BGR on Twitter. But here's the name of the article. Can the company behind Ray-Ban and Oakley make Google Glass cool? Some people in the comments section already answered with their one-word answer, no. But this says we're about to find out. So let's check this article that is already being pushed down with a fucking ad. Yes, all right, whatever. Thank you, ad. And then as soon as the ad goes away, it's going to move the website again. Some moron executive at these places where these ads, there it goes. Look at it. Some fucking executive is high-fiving some other executive about how it pushes the website down and inserts it into your experience. And I wish those people would let me punch them in the face instead of them high-fiving each other. Luxottica is well known for the company as the company behind Ray-Ban, Oakley, and other popular eyewear brands, but it's about to take on its biggest challenge yet, making Google Glass look cool. The Wall Street Journal says Luxottica's CEO said Friday the company is working with Google to design the sequel to Google Glass, and the device would be out soon. The status of where Google Glass stands has been in question ever since Google announced it was discontinuing sales of the first generation device earlier this year. Google shifted responsibility for the computerized handset over to Nest CEO Tony Fadell, well known for his design chops, but it's the first indication we've heard that a next-gen Google Glass is anywhere close to being released. The problems behind the first-generation Google Glass, I just cannot say it, are well documented. Google charged users $1,500 to buy was essentially a beta product. Google didn't anticipate the social stigma that would come with wearing glass, as many people worried about whether they were being covertly filmed by the device. And the device caused a lot of issues with people getting sick from wearing it too much. Whether Luxottica's input can solve any or all of those problems is still to be seen. So this doesn't really answer much of anything. But again, they're the company, I guess, behind Ray-Ban and Oakley. And I'm not really sure I even knew that. Because I'm not super fashionable. I know it's shocking. But Luxottica, the company behind Ray-Ban and Oakley. Now, Oakley is not known for being a high-end cool eyewear maker, but they are known for being a cool eyewear maker. Like a lot of people in a lot of walks of life wear Oakley products, and certainly Oakley sunglasses, to the point where I've even seen Oakley prescription glasses. There are Oakley frames that will house your prescription frames. And, you know, that's sort of a cool thing if you're into it. And eyewear fashion is another thing that sort of I feel like, obviously, A, I'm obviously not hip to, but B, it's becoming more and more okay to wear glasses. It's certainly one of those things that sort of, paradoxically to me, I find it unfathomable that anybody wearing glasses would be seen as attractive. I really hate glasses. I have always hated wearing glasses. I feel like they make me look nerdy and look like shit. I would always much rather prefer wearing contacts when I look something like this. But then I can't see if I take my glasses off. There's the thing, is when I'm wearing contacts, and I thought I had some contacts right here. These are my daily disposable contacts. I usually put them in for 2 days because I usually only wear them for like 4 to 5 hours at a time. But I can see so much better with contacts than I can with glasses. That's the other thing. Fashionableness is one thing. I would not come on this show wearing glasses if I thought I really looked ugly. I just think I look nerdy. But I'm able to see, you know, I can look at a tree and see the tree with these glasses. I can look at the same tree with these contact lenses on and see every vein on every leaf on every tree. Like somehow it's like Geordie LaForge's, you know, digital eye implants in Star Trek First Contact kind of a thing. I really can see far, far, far better when I'm wearing contacts and wearing glasses. All right, let's switch over to Apple. Still on BGR.com, the secret ordeals Apple puts developers through so they can make amazing watch apps. App developers are Apple's secret MVPs. Without applications, the iPhone, iPad, Mac, and Apple Watch would be immensely boring devices. Apple knows this, and that's why they've always tried to outshine the competition when it comes to app availability. To ensure it has decent Apple Watch apps at launch, Apple invited various developers to its secret watch lab in Sunnyvale. There, they were able to test their apps on the watches before the wearable device was officially launched, although developers also had to agree to Apple's harsh security conditions. The event started at 9 a.m., which is when Apple started letting people in one team at a time. When you walked in, the first thing you noticed was a big projection screen on the right, which had a presentation running on a loop. Directly to the left were 1 or 2 people checking in names and putting security stickers over the cameras on our phone and laptop, so we couldn't take any pictures. There were probably about 25 to 30 developers there, and you were allowed to bring 1 extra person, so most people showed up with 2 people per team. They had a lot of desks lined up in long rows. Each desk was numbered. Developers then received Apple Watch units, all sport models, both 38 and 42 millimeter screen versions, which they were then able to use to test out apps. Apple also provided iPhones to be paired with the watches, as developers were not allowed to use their own smartphones. The company further made sure developers would not leave the room with a watch on them. If you got up to go to the bathroom or the cafeteria, you had to hold up your wrist to show you weren't trying to steal one, which didn't exactly make sense since anyone could have hidden one in their pocket. Yeah, they just show me your wrist, but we're not going to search you. Apple further made sure developers would not remove security tapes from their iPhones when leaving, and they also signed out of iCloud on the iPhones that Apple provided. Finally, security guards were present both inside and outside, and Apple engineers were also present to help with answers. There are currently 3,000 iOS apps that have added app support for the watch, though some reviews say some of these third-party apps are not yet where they should be when it comes to overall performance. A list of Apple Watch ready apps is available in iTunes, but also in the Watch app on the phone. Obviously, if you have the iWatch, or I guess it's the Apple Watch, then you're able to just probably access the App Store for the Apple Watch apps directly from your watch. And I guess that's really not all that shocking or surprising as well. And by the way, while we're talking about the Apple phone, there was this article. And again, for a guy who doesn't like to go to sites where he doesn't necessarily know much about the site itself, I've been doing a lot of bgr.com, but we're going to do one more because they had another really good article about the Apple Watch. An unexpected feature or flaw, if you will, for the Apple Watch. You have to pair it with your iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 is super thin. If your iPhone gets thinner, what does that mean? The battery is smaller. And yes, battery life is now a further problem. Apple's latest iPhones are without question the most impressive iPhones so far, blah, blah, blah. There's one area where the smaller iPhone model in particular definitely lags behind much of the competition, and the problem is being exacerbated by the watch. Since the iPhone 6 was released, one major complaint has been voiced: battery life. I was saying this all the way back to the iPhone 5, which I had. Many other smartphone makers were focused on extending battery life through optimizations and even stuffing larger batteries into their phones. Apple instead chose to focus on making the phone even slimmer. 6.9 millimeters, I don't think that's necessary. I really question whether or not these Apple people with their thinness fetish are making any sense. Because the iPhone 5 suffered enormously from this problem, and it was a millimeter or two thinner than the iPhone 4. By the way, just for reference, my iPhone 5 was left on a bus in Mexico, so I no longer have it. But this is the thinness of the iPhone 4. Okay, here it is in my hand. I'm not going to say it feels like a credit card, because it does not. It's thick like a phone. But is this really too thick? Show it perfectly on the edge there. Is that too thick? It must be thinner than this in order to be cool and good and useful and blah, blah, blah. I like Apple's products. I love the iPhone. I love a lot about the iPhone. My whole family has iPhones. My mom has an iPhone. My dad has an iPhone. Both of them use iPhone 4s. My sister has the iPhone 6. Nobody has a watch. Looks and feels fantastic, this article says, but many users argued they would have preferred a large battery to a slimmer iPhone. That's what I'm talking about, and that's what I've said since the iPhone 5. Now, Apple's next big thing has been released. The Apple Watch started shipping. There are some complaints, however, and one in particular is something of an unexpected twist. Ahead of the Apple Watch's debut, rumors suggested the device's battery might not be able to even carry it through a full day of usage. Now that the watch has been released, we know that's not the case, but it looks like battery life is still going to be an issue. As noted by Mac Rumors, some users are reporting the Apple Watch is having a very noticeable negative impact on iPhone battery life. The watch has to be paired with an iPhone in order to work. The devices use both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to move data back and forth. It looks like those connections, or perhaps the Apple Watch companion app on the iPhone, are causing, say it with me, excessive battery drain on the iPhone. 31% of your battery usage, according to this screenshot by Ryan Block. Definitely an issue that will be closely watched by users and blogs. Perhaps most interesting is the fact that, in theory, users should be using their phones far less than before, thanks to the watch. As a result, any impact the companion app might have on battery life ought to be negated by the fact that the iPhone remains in your pocket with the screen off more often than not. But again, thinness versus battery life. It was one of the things we always talked about in my English class in Mexico, because everybody's got a phone. I mean, technology is something that you kind of need to be able to talk about, and there's lot of sort of fine tuning of vocabulary and usage that happen in English when you're talking about technology. Are you in your phone or are you on your phone? You know, little things that all of us English native speakers know without even thinking about it. It's automatically, completely automatic. But for people who are not English speakers natively, this stuff needs to be sort of spelled out clearly and concisely. And so I'd get everybody to get their phone out. Many of them already have their phone out, because who doesn't have their phone out these days? Many of them have a Duolingo or a similar app on their iPhone, such that you're able to, actually sort of use it as a translator. I had Google Translate, which I used frequently. What the heck is this? Oh, interesting. A friend of mine has texted me that my old radio station, 960 on the AM dial in San Francisco, has achieved yet another 0 rating, an unmeasurable rating. Literally, it is undetectable. If there's anybody listening to 960 AM in San Francisco, it is not able to be detected by the current ratings system. And I can say this, I might not have had high ratings when I was on 960 in San Francisco, but I will say that I know I had listeners, and I know we got more than a 0 in the ratings. There were at least 3 different iterations of 960. When I say iterations of a radio station, I'm talking about sort of the moniker, the name they use, right? The call letters, sometimes those change. And just in general, let's see, I was there when I first got there. It was 960, The Quake, the Air America station. And then it became Green 960, KKGN. Back then it was KQKE when it was The Quake. Then it became KKGN when it was Green 960. And then finally, it became KNEW, which were call letters moved from another frequency we had. So it was 960 KNEW. And it was just kind of, it's really the same stuff. It's like Taco Bell, repackaging the same food in different ways and sort of going, ta-da, look at this new thing we have. Well, it's not a new thing. It's, beans arranged in a hexagon instead of a triangle, whatever. And the folks at Clear Channel have not figured out that a completely robotic station with nobody working there and nobody doing anything live is not something worth listening to in any way, shape, form, fashion, or means or manner. All right, continuing on with Nerd News Monday. By the way, I haven't said this. You can call or text me, even if it's not live on the air. If you're watching this on tape and you have something you'd like me to see, go ahead and send a text to the phone number here, 310-776-5869. Go ahead and send a tweet to Sebastian Kuntz on Twitter, and I'll be certain to see it and include it in the next broadcast. Even if it's not till like Nerd News Monday next time, you can be sure that I will include it. Let's see what were some of the other stories we were going to talk about. Antimatter, we've talked about. Star Wars in the NSA. I like this one. I'm sorry, not Star Wars, Star Trek. The NSA's chief has a kind of command center, the war room, they call it in the NSA. I doubt we're going to see pictures in this article. In fact, I've read this article. I'm pretty sure there are no pictures. But guess what it's patterned after? Yes. I have heard stories. I will start with this. I have heard stories that ever since the days of the earliest Star Trek, government people of various departments and types were interested and came to visit the set of Star Trek because of the extremely sort of organized and logical and efficient work nature of the bridge. It's genius. You got a center, in the command guy in the center with a chair that does all this great stuff, a big screen in the front center, 2 guys working in the station's con and ops as we know them, and then people working around in a circle facing away from you at their own terminal, but big display, biggest display in the front, big displays around on top, and smaller displays right in front of everybody with all the technology built behind the walls. Literally there's no computers on any desks. It's just control panel display. That's it. And it's very, very simple. Now, it wasn't Roddenberry's solo creation. There were a lot of sort of set designers and engineers and so forth that went into putting that set together. But now, life imitating art, imitating life. Now we have the NSA's chief with the former, this is described in the article as the former war room. So maybe it's changed now. I don't know. But there's the guy. NSA Director Keith Alexander might be the most famous spy in America. Everyone wants to know who's really behind the agency's widespread snooping, and now a lengthy profile of Alexander in foreign policy invites even more intrigue. It also reveals some of the general's weird ways. The core questions about Alexander the cowboy in the story stem from revelations in Edward Snowden's leaks, saying he sounds a bit eccentric. But read this. When he was running the Army's Intelligence and Security Command, Alexander brought many of his future allies down to Fort Belvoir for a tour of his base of operations, a facility known as the Information Dominance Center. It had been designed by a Hollywood set designer to mimic the bridge of the Starship Enterprise from Star Trek, complete with chrome panels, computer workstations, a huge TV monitor on the forward wall, and doors that made a whoosh sound when they slid open and closed. That's really the icing on the cake right there, the doors that go... Lawmakers and other important officials took turns sitting in a leather captain's chair in the center of the room and watched as Alexander, a lover of science fiction movies, showed off his data tools on the big screen. Everybody wanted to sit in the chair at least once to pretend he was Jean-Luc Picard. So that suggests it's the Next Generation bridge and not the original Star Trek bridge I was referring to in the introduction of this story. But let's see. This goes on to talk about more about the guy and his weirdness, but I just, so the director of the NSA is a Trekkie and his right-hand man is an evil genius, and that replica of the Enterprise bridge was built with taxpayer dollars. Okay, then. There's sort of the last little cherry on top of the story is that it was paid for with American taxpayer money. Why wouldn't it be? It's the NSA. We all support the NSA, except that we all don't. New gadgets. Let's move on to the new gadgets version of our mention of our story here before we go off the air. From the website laughingsquid.com, another really good website I enjoy. Great deal. Convenient device that adds 2 USB charging ports to your couch or bed. Charging is a big thing now. Everybody's got gadgets of all sorts. You got to be able to charge them. I'm going to get up for a second and show you this gadget I got for Christmas because I really think it's cool. And I just happen to not have it plugged in. It's, if you have one plug, you can turn it into 6 plugs with a power strip, right? I got this little Borg cube device. Check this out. It's a cube. It's got, you plug it in here, and then it's got 4 plugs that all aim different directions, by the way. That's some design brilliance right there. One of them goes this way, so if you have a big square box that plugs in, it goes down that way, and away from the wall plug side for one thing, and then this one goes this way. That's genius. And then there's 4 of those, and then on the outside, yes, 2 USB plugs. So if you charge your phone and you don't have the little square that turns the USB power plug into the AC power plug, you've got it right there. This is a cute little freaking gadget, and I got this for Christmas. It might have been one of the best things I got for Christmas. But let's look at this new thing for your couch, because this is kind of something I would like seeing in my stocking this coming Christmas. The Couchlet. Power where you want it. Okay. Check it out. There you see it right there. It kind of comes in almost like a seatbelt comes into a car seat. Adds 2 USB charging ports to a couch or bed, allowing people to charge their smartphone or tablet in a more convenient way. Will it cause fires? You want to hope not. It was created by Trident Design previously, or raising money to bring the device to market through Indiegogo campaigns. Not exactly out there yet. Let's look at their little video here.
Hi, my name is Chris Hawker, president of Trident Design and lifelong inventor, and I'm here to introduce you to the Couchlet. Let's face it, smartphones have become a standard part of life, and so has the issue of running out of charge long before your day does. Finding a place to charge up while still being able to use your phone is a pain in the neck. The provided power cables are short, and the outlets usually aren't where you like them to be. So, we created the Couchlet. It's a simple dual-port USB hub that's designed to play nice with your couch or bed, the places where you find yourself at the end of the day when your device is likely to need a boost. A streamlined form is designed to wedge between couch cushions or mattresses so you can have the place to plug in that's right where you want it. It has an arm that can flip down for extra stability, and we're including a 6-foot USB cable so you can place the couch lid where you need it. This is where you come in. Your support will allow us to buy the molds to make the couch lid a reality.
Okay, so it's not out there yet, but it's sort of it's coming. They're hoping you'll be able to contribute to it if you see it as an interesting, useful thing. The couch lid, why not? Let's see, was that their thing? Power Up looks like, it looks like they've hit their goal, 52,795, 176% of their goal with 26 days left. So yeah, good for them. Every time I see a goddamn thing on Indiegogo, I think to myself, God, I got to think of an idea that I could get people to give money for. If only I were more clever. I don't know. It just seems like, God, what a pain. What a pain. Now, that's a company that understands charging. Not wireless charging, but understands charging. They took something that was kind of a reality of modern life, and they, sort of... how do you say? They've built an idea, and they're working on an idea that actually will take the problems with this reality of modern life and make it a little less problematic, right? Well, other companies are trying to do that too. You've seen people try to do the wireless charging thing. What is it called? Inductive charging, or with the, where you place your phone. I think you usually place your phone in this sort of case that has an inductive charging thing built into it, and then you just touch your phone in its case to the other side of the inductive charging thing, and it sends charge wirelessly through the inductive charger coil into your phone battery. Well, here's Duracell's take on this, and goddamn if it doesn't suck. Duracell doesn't understand wireless charging. Let's look at this article from the good folks at Gizmodo, filed under wireless fuck-ups, by the way. I like that. There's what it looks like. Okay. Wireless charging is one of those kind of handy things that's almost been about to go mainstream for about 5 years now. But Duracell's tired of waiting for the wireless charging revolution. They want you to wirelessly charge by plugging in this dongle instead. What? The Duracell PowerMat Power Ring is a $50 inductive charging coil, including the mat, thinly veiled in plastic, which you're meant to plug into your non-wireless charging smartphone, enabling you to juice up without plugging in a wire. Instead, you have to plug in this big dumb dongle. At first glance, you'd think this was either a not funny April Fool's joke or another crummy Kickstarter, but no, this is an actual thing that a company worth $4.7 thinks you should buy. To be clear, this is not a thing you should even think slightly about buying, no ifs, ands, or, oh, but my Star Trek just added wireless charging mats. Well, if your Starbucks did, I suppose that's one thing that might make this a little easier, but look at the ugliness. I mean, look at the design non-comprehension of that. It's a little bit embarrassing, and probably more than a little bit embarrassing, actually. But I still think that's pretty funny and pretty interesting, and kind of, you can see the clever people in the couchlet thing. Maybe that would cause a fire danger, maybe it wouldn't. Let's hope it wouldn't. But I also feel like, you take a company like Duracell, which is probably not known for thinking much outside the box, and clearly they're thinking inside the coil and not really doing a very good job of it. Your Tor-based email is not as secure as you think. Recent security breach just proved a painful reminder that Tor's anonymity network is not completely foolproof against truly determined intruders. The email service cGaint is warning users that someone recently launched a sustained attempt to break into its servers and snoop on messages. While that direct attack was not successful, the culprit also tried setting up malicious exit nodes where data reaches the normal internet in hopes of spying on messages the moment they left Tor. The chances of actually connecting to one of those rogue routers was only about 2.7%, but you clearly wouldn't have enjoyed winning that lottery. Well written. I like this person who wrote this. The kicker, the campaign was probably avoidable. cGaint doesn't encrypt its normal website, which let the perpetrator get away with the impersonation necessary for this campaign. The service tells the motherboard it doesn't lock the site because it's both a hassle for users and ineffective against fake security certificates. That's not much consolation if you were affected. SIG-8 hasn't said exactly what it'll do, but it's looking at either encrypting its page or pulling the public Tor link to reduce the chances of this kind of assault. Who's responsible? It's not clear. There's no clear evidence this was a government agency trying to spy on drug dealers and terrorists. Given the low odds of intercepting any useful messages, this attack could just as easily be the work of criminals hoping to get lucky or someone holding a grudge. Whoever's at fault, the incident suggests you'll want to be careful about sending those sensitive messages, no matter how secure you think this service might be. We were talking about Android. We were talking about other operating systems. One thing I gotta tell you, I'm using a little bit more than I thought I would, is this Google Now. It's the creepy thing from Google that tells you how long it's going to be, how long it's going to take you to drive home when it knows where you are without you having entered anything in Google Maps. Thank you. No. Google Now. The voice command feature is finally open for use by developers. Users on Android will now be able to say, "Okay, Google," to control and navigate through a growing number of apps. This is not quite like the Siri thing. For instance, if I were to do this on my Google Now here, the number of apps I can activate is either small or 0. Let me pull it up here and I'll just demonstrate. Okay, here is, pull my screen up so I can see myself. This is Google Now, what it looks like. You're not going to be able to see, the brightness is just too bright, sadly. What it has on here is the weather for the city where I am, different news articles about things I have repeatedly searched for. It's telling me Jeopardy is going to be on tomorrow at 3:30. I knew that, but apparently I searched for it once, and so now it's giving me information on when Jeopardy's on. Articles about last week tonight, articles about the Daily Show, things I have searched for. And then when you activate it, it gives you kind of more of the same. Again, last week tonight with John Oliver, Jon Stewart, articles here, movies that I've searched for, the weather for where I am. But then at the top is the search bar. You can't see anything more than the white rectangle here. But when I talk to it, it responds. "Okay, Google, what is the temperature outside?" And you actually see the text going. And I have it on silent, but it brought up the weather. "Okay, Google, what was the score of the San Francisco Giants game?" Okay, and it brings up the score of the latest San Francisco Giants game. I guess, is it going on right now? Oh, this is from Sunday's game. Okay, 2-2, Marlins versus Giants. 2-3, Giants won, it says. Okay, great. So you can do those things very much like Siri, right? If I go to Siri, the Wi-Fi is not somehow turned on here. I don't know how that happened. Wi-Fi should be on. Okay. Well, wait for the Wi-Fi to not work when, okay, here we go. And if I go, "What time is it?"
It's 10:53 p.m.
Thank you.
You sexy motherfucker.
That's the thing I like about it. Did you hear what it said? I guess you can't really see. "What's my name?"
You're Sebastian. But since we are friends, I get to call you you sexy motherfucker.
Yes, Siri calls me you sexy motherfucker. That is a trick that all my Mexican English students really enjoyed when I would do that. That's something Google Now can't do. But the thing I was going to demonstrate was, "Okay, Google, activate Trivia Crack." It's not going to be able to do it, is it? Oh, it did it. I got to tell you, I did not think that would work. And it did. It actually pulled up Trivia Crack, the trivia game that I'm kind of playing a lot of. And that works. That does work just like Siri, as a matter of fact, where I say, activate your life. And it brings up kind of my statistical app that I use to count everything from when I take multivitamins to when I drink Mountain Dew. So, this voice activated thing I really like and always have. I was also intrigued by the article. We're looking at this. Google is now increasing the ability to OK Google and start various apps. There's an article I had not seen before. Everything you say to Siri, Cortana, and Samsung phones may be heard by a human being. If you've tucked yourself under the sheets of ignorant bliss when it comes to your privacy while speaking to your device, this is yet another wake-up call. A Reddit user recently shared a first-hand account of starting a new job that required her to listen to recordings of voice commands people gave their phones to check for accuracy. So it's not live, but this personal thread was called "Everything You've Ever Said to Siri and Cortana has been recorded, and I get to listen to it." Guys, I'm telling you, if you set it to your phone, it's been recorded, and there's a damn good chance a third party is going to hear it. I heard everything from kiddos asking innocent things like, "Siri, do you like me?" to some guy asking Galaxy to lick his butthole. I wish I was kidding. Now, of course, it's in the licensing agreement. A post from Motherboard delves deeper into what this specific job entailed and even shares some of the recordings that were posted for vetting. I will tell you this, as I have been a user of Google Voice for quite a while, I love Google Voice. I don't love everything Google does, but Google Voice is one of those things I really do love. They're folding it into their Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts is what I use to do this show. But Google Voice has been a really great thing, with one exception. Its ability to voice translate voicemail messages. If you get a voicemail, it puts a text version of that voicemail into your text, into your email, however you want to receive it. And you can literally, if you're in a meeting and you can't listen to the voicemail you just got, you can get a transcribed version. The transcription is about 20% good and 80% bad. And one of the things about it is me and my friend who I often do this with, you can donate your voicemail to Google Voice. If it translated it very well or translated it very badly, you can click donate this voicemail to Google, and then it can use it to try and improve. So in the same way, I didn't realize it was going to be a person, but I have donated voicemails in the past to try and improve the ability of the product to actually understand words, because frankly, it was quite bad. And my friend picked up on this. When you try to speak extra clearly and succinctly, and you try to over-enunciate your words so that it could be extra understandable, it really fucked it up. If you spoke normally and kind of slurred your words together and spoke fast and didn't really separate the words and just kind of talk normally, like you'd say, "Hey, what's going on? I'm over here at the game and I'm going to have a really great dinner tonight and I'm going to have sex with my girlfriend and blah, blah, blah." If you had done it like that, it would probably understand 90% of the words you were saying. If you tried to speak like this, "I'm going to fuck my girlfriend tonight," it would probably have real trouble understanding 90% of the words in that. So, good night, Siri.
Good night to you too.
Thank you. I was hoping you would say "you sexy motherfucker," but it did not. All right, it is 10:57. That is 0557 GMT. We're going to call it quits. Tomorrow is Game Show Tuesday. I haven't decided what game shows we'll do. I'm thinking more Scrabble. I'm thinking another episode of What's My Line, and I'm thinking one of those 70s game shows, like the pilots that nobody's heard of, because those are always a fucking trip. Just a trip, a mind trip, a mental mind trip of gargantuan proportions. Game Show Tuesday is an event that is not to be missed, and by far the most watched event I do on cBAS After Dark here. So please join me 23 hours and 2 minutes from now for Game Show Tuesday on cBAS After Dark. Make it a great month.